You've tuned into the Bellingham Podcast for the week of July 8th, 2018, episode 86. From the city by the Sailor Sea, I am AJ Barce.
And I'm AJ's co-pilot, Chris Powell. On this episode, AJ and I want to let you know that we are not going to be happy unless we're going Mach 2 with our hair on fire. Now, we're not going to sit here and blow sunshine up your, well, you know. A good podcaster is compelled to always evaluate what's happened so they can apply what they've learned. Up there, we got to push it. That's our job. It's the Bellingham Podcast.
Talk to me, Goose.
That's
Talk
right.
to me.
You caught it. You caught it. How you doing, AJ?
Good, Chris. Happy post-Independence Day.
Post-Independence Day, yes. Boom.
Did you check? Let me see all.
10 fingers, 10 toes. Yep,
okay,
we're all good.
good.
I choose not to light exploding devices in person.
I don't blame you.
My career involves fingers.
Funny enough, I just recently heard, because it is after Independence Day here in the United States, and it is our big fireworks extravaganza, and I recently heard some 60% of all explosion injuries in the United States usually are men or boys, okay, 60% of them. And that 60%, some 90% of those injuries happens around July 3rd through July 5th.
Here's a wake-up call, boys and gents out there.
Boys and gents,
Boys
yes.
and gents out there. Let's decrease that percentage and wise up.
Yeah. Keep all your fingers and also keep some cashola in your back pocket. On that note, moving on.
We're following up on the Urban Hikers Grand Tour.
The Grand Tour.
That was a fun episode, talking about a bunch of stuff. This past week, a follow-up to the follow-up, or a sequel fecta. My wife and I took our dog walking. We're kind of going in neighborhoods now, and she's got the map of trails and such in Bellingham of what's available, and everyone knows of the regular ones, but we found a gem. It's got to be coming soon. Something this beautiful cannot be this undiscovered.
Tell me more.
So you're on your Lakeway Raceway here in town, and you're going to go up Puget Street. Now, depending on which way you're coming from Lakeway, if you're coming from the Sun Valley area, you hang a left. If you're coming from I-5, you hang a right. And you go up Puget Street, and then you're going to take a left on Consolidation. All right, play along if you got Google Maps at home, folks. After Consolidation, you're going to take a right on Racine. Racine is your key. Your journey for this near undiscovered territory starts at the dead end of Racine, kind of on top of the hill and such. Basically, this trail, and it is a trail. It's got the gravel kind of entryway and such. It starts off on a nice urban trail type manicured, gravel path going on, but then it goes stroller unfriendly.
Is this a named trail?
I checked Google Maps. I checked Bellingham, everything. Tried to do my research for this.
Yeah.
I could not find a name for this trail. There was no marking. There's simply a gravel trail, and I think it goes behind, if it's running parallel to U Street. Okay. It might be in the back of Wade King Elementary.
U as in Y-E-W.
Y-E-W,
here
yes.
in Bellingham.
There's a big building, and
Yeah.
I thought it was Wade King Elementary. I could be wrong, but it runs parallel. But this trail kind of meanders down west.
Yeah.
And basically, you go for about a mile. It's got to be a mile, 3/4 of a mile to a mile. Some of it is going pretty uphill. Put on your hiking boots. But then you arrive at the crest. And this crest, I got a picture in our show notes, whether or not it shows up in our feeds.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the BellinghamPodcast.com website.
There's just a whole bunch of cleared trees, but it has a spectacular view of Bellingham Bay. When you go on Barkley, Chandler Parkway. Chandler Parkway. When you're looking out over the water, you've got a fairly unobstructed view for what's left.
Well, I was going to say, before the big duplexes got in.
Anyway. Great view of the bay and trees. Photographer's delight.
Right.
Selfie delight.
Ooh.
The sunsets are going to be...
Skookum.
Yeah. And so I really would love to be able to send a link in the show notes, but folks, you got to do your work on this one.
Yeah.
It's off of Lakeway, Puget, Consolidation, Racine.
What we might end up doing is make a My Maps for the Bellingham Podcast and put a pin there if it's this difficult to find. But hey,
or we might record out there
Oh, well,
someday.
there is that too, Chris.
Yes, on a nice, warm, sunny day, we do have, with our thousands of dollars of podcasting equipment, we might be able to schlep it all and go out into the open air.
That could be cool.
record.
That could be a good culmination of this outdoors series that we're doing.
Absolutely. Well, we in the past we've gone to the Bellwether, we've gone to the Northridge Trails, we've gone to Fairhaven, we've recorded wherever the heck, and the Taylor Dock, wherever the heck we want to outside. This one, I think, is the King Kamehameha of awesome locales.
Challenge accepted.
My wife was we had not realized what we had climbed up to.
So how did you just find this? I mean, did she just stumble upon this? Did you hear about it?
She picked something at random. It's like
seriously,
I kid you not.
Here's a compass. Spin. Dick.
There is
Racine.
Well, yeah. There's a little bit of a green area, and we haven't been in the Seahome or off of Lincoln Street where the WW Park and Ride is located. There's some park trails area along U Street, and it's kind of like if you were to look in an overhead shot, Lake Padden, some homes, U Street. On the other side of the hill is this trail area, and I'm geeked about it. I mean, that was just where it's at.
And parking is just pull over to the side, or is it a dead end down there? Or?
It's a dead end, and it's residential area in the OMG home area. So find a place to park and be respectful of others' dwellings and residences, as monstrous as they are. But wow,
cool, dude.
Yeah, dude. That was something. Anyway, so what did you have going on for this past weekend or 4th of July?
So two things actually. I've been quite active. Yeah. So we came back from the east side of our state. We were over in Spokane area, and I finally hiked around an area that I've been wanting to do, which is called the Bull and Pitcher. It's part of I believe it's called the River. Because I always get the Riverside and Riverfront mixed up. Riverfront, I believe, is downtown Spokane. That's where the clock tower is, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Riverside, and I might have these reversed. Sorry, Spokane hamsters, if I flip these, is the Spokane River and how it cuts through the canyons and such.
Okay.
Driving around the canyon area is just great. Put your 40 by 4 air conditioning on and just coast in the canyon area. It's really a great area. Anyway, we were actually looking for a waterfall, and that ended up to be kind of a bogus adventure. But
did you go chasing waterfalls, AJ?
I did go chasing waterfalls. I don't think that is an 86 reference.
I could not resist. Thanks for setting me up with the softball. Anyway, please continue.
So I went to go chasing waterfalls, and I have to stick to those rivers that I'm used to, and those rivers I did the Spokane River, and there's this place called the Bull and Pitcher, and basically it's where the river cuts through these two gigantic boulders. Miniature mountains, and there's trail systems all the way around it. Well, the Bull and Pitcher Trail is maybe 2.5 miles. It's just an easy loop. As a matter of fact, you can take a stroller on it. I didn't, but I did see a couple that did, and the mom of the group was not pleased with the trail that her husband was taking her on with said stroller, and I believe that said stroller got marched back to the vehicle. But you could do it. It doesn't look like it'd be advised.
Spousal admonishment.
Yes. Remember, this is the east side of Washington, so there are big, craggly rocks, and they did not have one of the big, burly strollers with the big wheels on them. Had one of the ones that I mentioned in the last episode that looks like dual umbrella stand.
Get the four-wheel drive.
Or the three-wheel burly one.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Bull and Pitcher is really cool because there's one side of it that is accessible by way of trail. There's another side of it, and you can kind of boulder yourself up this I'm going to say 3-story of a rock. I am not a rock climber, nor do I play one on podcasts, but I was able to just easily just grab and kind of just shimmy yourself up. Nothing crazy, needing to rappel or,
So this wasn't like the intro to Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise.
No, I did not have my arms sprawled with like epic dun dun dun.
Yes.
No, not me. But anyway, I did shimmy myself up there, and boy howdy, it was a great view. I'm on the top of a rock, and I have I'll put another picture in the show notes to match yours of the sweeping panorama that I took of the Spokane River and the Bull and Pitcher. And what's great about it is happy accident, I'm up there and I look over to my left because I hear this high screeching screech. and there's like this peregrine falcon or something that has a nest in the tree right next to this rock I just shimmied up.
Oh, hello.
And I'm like, oh, don't be mad at me. It wasn't. I mind my business. They mind theirs. But it was cool because I was able to see this. It looks like a mother falcon, like feeding its young and stuff while I was up there. And
I've heard the Falcons don't like Washington State.
Oh.
Zing! All right, sorry.
So anyway, the Bull and Pitcher. If you're on the east side of the state, easygoing trail. If you're a little adventurous, shimmy up one of the rocks over there and find your inner zen. Because what's great about it is I was there kind of early to mid morning, so before the high heat. And there was a nice breeze. It was warm. I was in, shorts, Converse, and a cutoff shirt. And like I said, it was a nice late morning. Take the trail system around and just kind of find your inner zen over there. It's real nice.
I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying how we're seeking new territory and getting those wonderful views that don't involve a 24-inch monitor or a 12.9 or 5.5 inch screen.
And yes, Chris, that is correct. I did not Instagram while I was up there.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, well, I took some very poor selfies of my wife and me trying to get the background. I'm really good at taking poor selfies with the sunlight behind us. Yeah. So, I missed the day they taught photography in photography school. But no, enjoy the view, and it kind of sticks with us.
Yeah.
For memories. And so, yeah, we're very cool.
No, so I do have selfies aside. Like I said, I did have my camera with me, so I do have a shot from atop the Bull and Pitcher, which is if you are listening to us on your favorite podcast app of choice, or if you go to the BellinghamPodcast.com, you'll see that limited edition, can we call it that?
Yes.
Cover for our podcast. Or if you're in the Bellingham area, you might listen to us without seeing our cover art on KMRE 102.3 FM.
Low power.
Community radio here in the heart of the city of subdued excitement. So anyway, yeah, as for Independence Day,
yes.
Was invited over to some very good friends that I have over in Lummi Island. Lummi Island is an island kind of north and west of Bellingham, Washington. And it's funny because everybody hears Lummi Island and they naturally assume that it's part of the Lummi Nation Reservation, which it is not. But you do go across our tribal neighbors to the north. You go through their reservation to Gooseberry Point. And
yes.
That's the ferry that you'll be taking. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, I realized that out of all the places that we talked about in 86 episodes, we've never mentioned Lummi Island.
Hi, Lummi Island.
Hi, Lummi Island. What's cool about Lummi Island, if you're anywhere in this area, is it's kind of a unique ferry experience. And putting all of the local politics aside, if you've been in the Bellingham area in the last decade, you know that the Gooseberry Point and Lummi Island Ferry is fraught with a lot of politics. We're going to put that aside and just merely look at the community that is Lummi Island, and kind of a unique experience for somebody who likes ferries. Like growing up in the Pacific Northwest, it's interesting. We have a unique culture out here, which is if you commute anywhere, you pretty much have to touch a ferry at some point. And I kind of equate it to people in the Midwest. They like trains. Over here, if you're a train buff, you're kind of a little bit weird. But if you're a ferry buff, hey,
we got you covered.
We got you covered.
That's right.
So, there's the Bainbridge Island Run and the Keystone Run. Well, the Gooseberry Point, you cross Hales Pass, which is that small spit in between the island and the Lummi Peninsula. And it's a short crossing. How short? 8 minutes short.
8-minute crossing for a ferry.
It is an 8-minute crossing. Huh. So you'll be using, if you decide to go over to Lummi Island, it's, I think, passage across round trip, because you only pay one way, is $13. And then if you have a co-pilot, if you have a goose running with you,
it's
another $7.
Yeah.
And you'll be taking this 8-minute crossing on the Whatcom Chief. Now, the Whatcom Chief is a very unique boat because it was built in 1962. And from what I've done some research, it replaced the original 6-car Chief Kawaina ferry boat. So from 6 cars, what did it go up to? 20 cars. Now, you're probably thinking, wow, that's a small boat. Let me put it in perspective. So I had to do some digging to find because this is a county run, so Whatcom County runs this ferry. I had to find a ferry class, like we've got the jumbos if you're used to going across to Seattle from, like, say, Bremerton. those are big boats. And if you take even the San Juan boats, those are I think they call them Tacoma class. I have a link in the show notes of actual Washington State ferry vessel classes. And I had to find one that got decommissioned, unfortunately, back in, I think 2016. The Hiyu.
Hiyu.
Hiyu, which was an H-class ferry.
Of course it is.
Now, the Hiyu, if you did take the inter-island connection ferry of San Juan, you may have been on this between 2000 and 2016. However, that H-class vessel, which is, I think, the smallest vessel that the Washington State ferries have in their fleet, is still a large boat compared to the Whatcom Chief. So this H-class, that's still a bigger boat. I think it carries some 40 cars. The Whatcom Chief is a 20-car boat, folks. It is a small vessel. But what's interesting about this boat is it was built to cross Hales Pass. It has a shallow draft to go across this. And, it is a vital instrument for, islanders to come to the mainland and getting, tourists over to the island. So anyway, it's a cute boat. Can I just say that? It is a cute boat.
You may say that.
And some fun ferry fact. The next closest boat that you can find in the state of Washington is another county-ran boat over in Columbia River. If you take a State Route 409 to the lower Columbia River, you will also find yourself a ferry, and it's called the Oscar B, and it's still bigger than the Whatcom Chief because Oscar takes on 23 cars.
Got a few more for those last-minute scramblers, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was just some fun, regional fun ferry facts.
Fun ferry facts for your enjoyment.
Sure. So what do you do when you go out to Lummi Island? So for a whopping $20, if you and your partner are going to go out there, it's a small island, folks. You can get some grub at the Beach Store Cafe, some great Reubens, if you ask my wife anyway. Like I said, drive around the island and stuff. There's a big art culture out there, so there's a lot of artists, artisanal studios that you can stop in. But because we are doing the great outdoors, I did not focus on that. I just wanted to put a link in the show notes. There is beach access on Lummi Island, and so I put a link in the show notes where it's at. It's near the ferry terminal. So if you were, say, looking for a good spot to spy a lot of fireworks next 4th of July, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you may want to go out to Lummi Island and take a look at it because it was pretty cool. I was there on the north side of the island.
Okay.
But the ferry terminal is near the north side of the island. So you're able to see everything from looking back at the Lummi Nation all the way out to, say, Sandy Point or far south as, Bellingham Bay.
So how was the view from the Bellingham?
It was panoramically awesome.
Panoramically awesome. When the lights go boom, or when the lights go poof and you hear the boom, and how many seconds were you, 4 or 5?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
but
cool.
I mean, it just, I have not seen that big of a fireworks show, like panoramic wise. I literally watched everything from Sandy Point to Lummi Nation, and it was just, I could not keep track of how many millions of dollars I watched go up in smoke.
So AJ, I got a question for you. In Lummi Island and taking this 8-minute ferry, I've taken it in the past, and I recall that it's not a 24-hour ferry service. So let's say you were to go to next year, go there, and the fireworks start at 10:30 mostly.
Sure.
And this year we had 15 minutes before, thank you, good night, drive home safe. Is there a last ferry sailing from Lummi Island so you can get your butt back to Bellingham?
Yeah. You can look up online. I'll put a link in the show notes. But for me, because it was midweek, the last boat was at midnight. So I mean, and me and my wife and my little one, we were in the car and waiting for the next boat by 11. That boat came in, we went straight on. Cool. There wasn't a mass exodus, at least for this year. That's all I can speak to.
You mean you didn't have traffic problems after the fireworks display?
No, I did not have, I didn't have any problem, going across Lummi Nation, getting back on I-5 and getting home. Actually it was really cool. Going across Hales Pass, I was able to catch some fireworks while we were on the boat, which was really cool.
Take note, because here's a great way to avoid how many hours of traffic delay to get out of
downtown in Zwanich? Yeah.
Anyway, or Boulevard. Oh, man, whatever.
So there's another thing out in Lummi Island, and I haven't done this, but I wanted to put it in the show notes. There is 2 trails that I found out there, which next time I'm out there, I'm actually going to try to scope out. There's Lummi Peak Trail and the Baker Preserve next to Lummi Mountain.
I like it already.
So Baker Preserve, it's a 3-mile round trip trail around Lummi Mountain. Put a link to WTA.org's brief about it. And then for the more advantageous, you can actually climb Lummi Mountain, and that's what Lummi Peak Trail does. Apparently it's a 6-mile, more moderate trail, and then obviously you go up to the top of the mountain. But anyway, I wanted to put those 2 links in the show notes because I don't know how many times I've been out to Lummi Island. I never knew that they were there. So
what a great opportunity to do some more hiking.
Yeah. So, Chris, as I got done with getting back from the 4th of July and watching all of these fireworks, no, my hair was not on fire, Maverick, but please inform me why we're making every Top Gun reference that we could do. Ice Man.
What you didn't see, folks, is me trying to chomp my teeth like Val Kilmer in that exact scene. No, this is episode 86. And so there's just something magical about my time of life in the year 1986, which was the year the Top Gun came out. Now, AJ.
Yeah, I'll do my brief synopsis of 1986. I was a toddler. Moving on.
Okay, so I was not a toddler. I have a few years on my podcast, Partner in Crime, and so I will be claiming Social Security quicker than you, jerky. So anyway, in 1986, I was in 8th grade. And I thoroughly had like one of these kind of transformational years, not just from a physiological standpoint, but also just in exposed to so much music and television, especially music television back when MTV played videos and movies and news and things like that. It was just a great time to be alive, at least from my standpoint, growing up in a very small town on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. But what happened in 1986, you might ask? Let's take the Wayback Machine. All right, 1986, Top Gun blew everyone out of the water for the best movie in that year. And I almost wanted to lobby for this one. Another popular movie, maybe not as huge as Top Gun, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Nice. We could have done a complete episode with all of the catchphrases and lines and things like that.
Yeah, but I don't have a Ferrari we can go backwards on.
And we may get the explicit tag for some of those catchphrases.
Right. Moving on.
Anyway, moving on. In music, in 8th grade, I started to develop my musical tastes and was really getting into the rock vein. And guess what? Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet debuted. You give love a bad name, AJ. I'm telling you. And also Madonna's True Blue, for those of you that may not be of the rock at heart. They were some of the top albums of the year. Unfortunately, 1986 was also a year where I watched this on a TV cart with one of the 2 through 13 manual dial televisions. This is where the Space Shuttle Challenger had its tragedy, and that was really difficult to see and to watch that on the news and things like that in Earth Science class. So that was really a tough one to work at, just to deal with the ramifications of what had happened. And how much everyone was mourning this. And so I learned some empathy in that instance. Anyway, let's get lighter in heart. In sports, now let's go to Chris Powell with the sports report in 1986. The Chicago Bears. The Bears won the Super Bowl with Jim McMahon, William the Refrigerator Perry, and the Super Bowl Shuffle, which was a horrendous video that these football players tried to rap and dance. Something that...
It was a meme before there was memes.
It was a meme before there was memes, yes. And, of course, Boston Red Sox fans, you don't want to remember 1986. No. Yeah, the Mets beat the Sox in the World Series. I'm on the West Coast. I don't give a rip about those two teams, so therefore we'll just leave it at that.
Full disclosure.
Partial disclosure. I still want to keep this show clean. But funny, on television, the Oprah Winfrey Show debuted in 1986.
Oh, fun fact.
The building blocks of her empire started about 22 years... Crap, I'm old. That's about 32 years ago.
Say, you're missing a decade there, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. Anyway, all right. So anyway, looking back in 1986. So this weekend, you went to Lummi Island for the fireworks, and you went to the east side of the state. I had an opportunity this weekend to have a couple hours to myself. And what better way for an introvert who's a music aficionado to spend time with themselves than curate the ultimate 80s pop rock playlist on my Apple Music.
And in a coffee shop, nonetheless.
And in a coffee shop, yes. I went to one out of town, and we'll just leave it at that. But 3 favorite songs, or 3 of the 200, just for example, to show you how obscure I might be. Oh, by the way, this Apple Music playlist that I created was pretty much the genesis, land of confusion from this whole episode theme. But funny about Top Gun, that soundtrack was huge.
Oh, yeah.
But my favorite songs were not exactly Danger Zone or Take My Breath Away. Blech. I actually enjoyed Larry Green's Through the Fire.
Oh, yeah.
If you've heard the soundtrack, there's some pretty rocking guitar.
Yep.
And there was a point in time in my early grown-up days where I was able to sing rather loudly and rather high-pitched, and I nailed that song in my car.
I think all of us did at some point.
Yeah. So anyway, Through the Fire, because those lyrics are so cookie-cutter generic.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Also, Eddie Money's Take Me Home Tonight.
Take me home tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to let you go, AJ, until you see the light of how cool this is. And then also, thanks to MTV, Wang Chung's Everybody Have Fun Night. That video not only confused me greatly to try to lock in on one of them with the whole quick edits. It's such a fun song. Can I get an amen, Bellingham Podcast listeners out there? Yeah, shoot us a tweet at hashtag BHAM Podcast if you're with the Wang Chung clique. That came out in 86 as well. So anyway, this I love looking back, not just because, golly, I'm old, but also this was what life was like. And so much simpler and so much fun back in 86. So anyway, for episode 86, had to do a throwback.
Well, I think we should kick the tires and light the fires.
Great balls of fire. Do it.
That wraps it up for this edition of the 86th edition of the Bellingham Podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us, wherever you like to get your podcast. Remember, if you're in the Bellingham area, you might listen to us over the air
on 102.3 FM, KMRE.
Low power.
Community radio here in the heart of Bellingham.
Do not fire until fire upon. I am AJ Barsay.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thanks again for joining us on the Bellingham Podcast.
I was trying to eke out the last Top Gun reference before we could close the show.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm all tapped out for these references.